Let's see how the broadcast goes.
What is up, everybody? How we doing? How are we doing out there in lovely CRT land? How are you all? Welcome back. Hope you all are doing well. Thought I'd come back for a second day of streaming today, so please, if you don't mind, do me a favor and hit the like button for me so that everybody will know we're live right now. Got the jazz jamming, got the studio set up, and we got the people rolling in. Smasher Josh, Mark Robertson first. Thank you, Mark. Mumful, welcome in. Tony Escobar, welcome back. Chris Broom, Rummy Raisin, thank you for coming. Stephen Norton, Chris Broom, MDPX, Roll Pats, the great John Zini. Welcome, everybody. And thank you, Belmont. Congratulations. Congratulations on making it here to this morning and doing whatever you're doing out there. Maybe it's evening. I see some people say it's evening. So let me just chill out. What I've been doing is a bit of stuff over here. You'll see on this desk view, which maybe if I open the camera lens that will help. There we go. Right over there, a completely opened up backside of a Sony PVM 20L5 right there. Right there for you. Anyway, I did have a little bit more chat with the owner, Stephen Norton, I think, is still in here. Chris Stewart, welcome. And so this PVM does have some issues, which I really wasn't familiar with. And to be completely honest with you, the issues that this has are, unfortunately, these are some of those that are darn near impossible to figure out and diagnose. But there's always the chance that going through the regular restoration process clears things up. I don't know if it will. So what we've got here is I have been able to, yesterday you saw me tear this down. It did work fine, right? Well, it worked mostly. We didn't take a strong, close look at things. But it was working. Tore it apart. Took out the deflection board yesterday. And then decapped it. So we're going to... Hey, Ronnie. Welcome back. We're going to... let me see here what's going on with this. I just have it on random music this morning. So anyway, decapped it. Recapped both those deflection cards. Reflowed the solder. Cleaned them all up. And then I've reinstalled them. And I did run a test on that. And then finally, after I let it run, two things happened. I went to the all-white screen, and I did see that after, like, everything, there was a brief second where the screen goes, like, on the right side, especially, it goes red for a second, and then it comes back to a normal. Now, I do notice that on this particular PVM, the yoke ring for purity has been adjusted, and it's off a little bit. And so you do have a green hue on one edge and a red hue on the opposite edge of the PVM. So that's something that's got to be reset that hopefully will help. I just got done reflowing all the solder on this board, which is the neck board, and it needs to be cleaned yet, but it does have fresh solder on everything. And this is, well, this could be an issue. I'll tell you why. When I actually reflowed the solder on this, almost all the solder points that had old solder on it popped, like pss, 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 when I put fresh solder on it, because it was pretty lousy solder on there. So that's a good sign too. You know, there's a possibility that it wasn't getting the right flow of voltage. And then here's the second thing. There was a like brief power surge thing where the screen, when it was on all white, after being on it for about 2 minutes on all white, it powered off real quick and just came immediately back on. Like it wasn't even enough to be a full down power. The screen just came out and went back on. Now that shows me that the main board, which I have yet to service, I've pulled it. But that needs to be serviced because there's a power interruption issue, and that's generally a sign that the power block needs to be recapped. So that recapping normally fixes that kind of an issue, as well as servicing the neck board. And this neck board is good. It's got extra diodes on here, which were changed for the it's got like a later revision on here of that. Now let me see down here, because I didn't do that one. There's a spot on here where it looks to be. So that's the problem. You get some people in here working on a couple things, and you never can tell. But anyway, there's a spot on here which I don't believe solder should be touching, and it wasn't a part that I actually replaced on there. Anyway, so I'm working on that. I've also got good news, because Capacitor's bracket right here is we're going to switch this out. The other one's got some dodgy bits on it. We'll look at that. It's kind of funny. I've never seen anybody repair or attempt to repair something in that manner on a PVM. So yeah, just chill out. We're going to let the stream get rolling here. I'm going to continue working on this PVM 20L5. And like I said, it does work. We're going to just do our best to hopefully get it back to as close to fixed position as possible. And it may be something, I'm thinking like it's having an issue where it's trying to balance out the colors, and there's maybe a voltage surge in that yoke. So let's hope that we can recap that power block and work in that area, and hopefully that will fix things. Now it still looks really great when you're using it. I wasn't actually able to notice it till Steven pointed it out, and I watched a white screen for a long time that there was even really an issue with it. So that's where I'm at with it. Again, L5, this is the neck board. That's what I was doing off camera, getting ready. And then what I'd like to start with, though, is Capacitor's bracket. Yeah, I don't know about that. Pat always, anytime something weird, Pat will say it's a tube short. I've had him say that to me on a D20 before, and it was the PA board. There was nothing wrong with the tube. It was literally the PA board had something shot on it, and I couldn't fix it. So I got a replacement PA board in here, swapped them out, and it worked perfectly. If it is an issue, it could, I mean, he knows more than I do, though, but still, if it's a tube short, that would surprise me. Cole's down here. VGA quality PlayStation 2. Actually, I've not used a VGA. I usually use just a component just because it's easier. All right. I mean, anything's possible with a CRT. That's the crazy thing about them, right? Okay. Cole, we ready to get some work done? All right, everybody. We're going to get started here, right? You go back over there. The first thing we're going to do, as I teased today, I do have a tube analyzer, so let's hope we don't have to get to that point. This will fix it, but I don't really think that it's a short on the tube, because I don't know. I mean, I guess that would totally tell us. Problem is, I need somebody to send me the pin. Actually, I can probably get the pin out for that tube. If somebody knows how to send it and wants to send it to me for that tube, we could do that too. Jake, welcome back. Plate fork. All right, so let me switch over here, give you guys an overhead view, and then we'll set that camera up. So the green thing I saw on was on mostly the left-hand side, and that was, but I didn't see it like turn green. I just saw it turn white, and then it would turn like a little red hue, and then back to white. I didn't see it turn green. The only green thing I saw was where I could tell the yoke is off adjustment-wise. All right, looks like I closed out all the music. Let's switch over here to desktop mode. And I'll have to pull that music back up because I didn't realize I just closed it out without even thinking. Okay. So this is our D board, which again, everybody saw yesterday. Just get that in there. And I don't know how much I'll have to actually do on here. So this is the D board. This is what it normally comes in, is this bracket right here. Okay. So there's the D board we fixed up yesterday, right? And see if I can at least make it look less crooked. I can't. I'm having some troubles with this camera arm today. Sorry, guys. Let's do that. That. And there we go. That's a little better. So this is the standard arm that comes in it. So we'll move this out of the way. Again, the service board on here. This is the original bracket, and it's got some compromised areas over in here. So we're going to remove everything, and we're going to repopulate this in a fresh bracket. Okay? So that's what we're going to do first. We're going to move all this over and put it in to this fresh bracket, especially since it's all serviced, and we'll even screw in the boards. I'll show you how to do all that right now because it's pretty easy. You pop out literally every piece from this, and we're going to look closer at this broken one. So let me go in here, and again, Jazz Central. Let's just play the jazz playlist. Are you going to play? There we go. All right. All right, everybody, let's do it now. Okay. Gonna change one thing on the camera real quick. There we go. And you can see the same view kind of that I have right here. So this is the D2 board. This is the D2 board. It can just pop out like this and like this. Same thing on the other side. It's just got a couple of inductors on it. Nothing really much to this connection with two isolated inductors right there. Okay, and that goes on the back. We just took that off like this. Okay, so set that there. Now we need to get all these little pieces of plastic out of there. And we'll need a set of needle nose pliers. Will do this job best. And you'll notice they're actually swapped, and they have to be put the same way back in the next one as we're going to take them out here and put them in the same way. But go around to the back side, and we just pinch these plastic backs and push them through the holes, just like that, everything. Even the cable clips, you're going to want it all. Just squeeze it together and release the pressure, and then push it. Once you get them squeezed in, push it a little bit, and then push it with your needle nose pliers like that. Pretty easy. just like that. There we go. We've got this right here for our flyback, and then that. Okay. Oh, everything's going everywhere. We'll look at that again in a second. Lovely Tuesday. Still working on that last cup of coffee here. Anybody else out there? Yes, sir. Let's go and look at our replacement bracket. Alright, I'm just looking at this. So it's going to go in there like that. That's the way it needs to sit, because that goes poop. Alright, just making sure I didn't mess anything up. There we go. Alright, so let's see, these go that way. So to put them back in here, we just slip them in and they'll just snap right in. There we go. That's it. Just make sure you have them pointing the right direction. This lovely bracket. I'll show you the nail here in a second when we get this put back together. There was a nail bracing that thing together, which is kind of an odd thing. Alright, make sure that, yep. So then we'll just slip this board right back in here. Look at that, fits perfectly, right? Let's hope so. There we go. Alright, there we go. Everything's good. Okay. Excellent. And that's how that board goes there. And then we had this guy. I believe it's pointing down. It wouldn't be pointing up. That was not wanting to go through there, is it? Maybe it was pointing sideways and I've got it sitting in there wrong. Yep, that must have been it. Okay, it's just not want to stick back in there. This is not a really important part. If you can't get it to go back, big deal, but let's see if we can get it to bend back out a little bit. Let's see, it would go that way, right? Or is it? Actually probably going to go this way just to make it easier to snap. See, it's not wanting to go in there. Well, maybe that one's too thick. Let's see if we can get the yeah, so that's an issue where I'm not actually able to get some of these to go back out. It's not the actual clip ones, it's this other plastic. Because there we go, maybe that's that one fits a little better. That one went down in there good. That's funny. I guess I could just put it this way. No, it's lame. All right. Try one more time to bend it all out. No, it's just not, it's not like, it's too thick. And this is too thin, the lip on there. Anyway, what's up, Rage Sauce? that's it for that part. And now this end slips right in here. Ah, so that's interesting. He got rid of the other clip, or this is an earlier prototype, I don't remember. Excuse me. But anyway, that's it. There are 3 screws that go in here. One does not go up here. You don't put ones. There's a mounting hole there, but you never put a screw in this hole. I don't know why it was designed like that, but even Sony didn't put a screw in that corner that's not a full corner. The other 3 that are actual corners get the screws. All right. So there's that screw, one more. This one's kind of the tricky one to get in there when you have fat fingers like this. Fat fingers. Fixed it. Don't let fat fingers stop you. That's what I say. Alright. Now that's it. Now we can go replace this when we're done servicing the other boards and just slip this board in there. And it'll just connect to the cabling. And that'll be all we need to do. And this bundle of wires can honestly come from there and come up here, and then we can use this hook. That hook is really not vital at all. There's a cable holder there, cable holder here, cable holder down here, or over here, down here. And we can really use just a regular clip to bundle those wires without that back end. It's not any problem. And then there's one screw that is left in this kit, and that's going to go to the mount right here. It's going to go in this hole. Let's look at that other bracket that I've replaced now. Pull out a bit of weaponry first. What do you guys think of this thing? How's everybody doing out there? Quiet Tuesday. Lovely. Or wild things happening. Still got some videos coming. Got some videos we're working on. Well, I haven't had time to work on them, but I need to sit down and just edit them. I've got them loaded on the PC for Zez's trip. So that's going to be all good and fun. Yeah, see, that's what I thought had happened. This is a very interesting way to repair plastic. There's official metal prongs that you're supposed to use and do this with, and there's a tool that actually melts the metal and the plastic together and leaves these pieces of metal in here. But what has happened is the bracket snapped at some point right here. On that side you can tell. Sorry. See if we can get the focus. Then, as we look over here, look at that. To reinforce, which is better than, I guess, nothing, right? Of course. But to reinforce that plastic, they've got a nail kind of melted into the plastic here after the super glue, I'm guessing, or epoxy was used to fix it. And then there's like, that's kind of odd. This is a solder braid, like a literal piece of solder wick, right? You can tell. That's just a piece of solder braid where it looks to me like this person stuck their, the tip of their soldering iron. They just pushed this piece of solder braid here and they just went and melted that in like that. And that's how they did it. Which I've never seen anybody do that. Up here is another one. Let's look at it. It looks like it's got a nail in there too, under the tape. We'll see. All right, so here we go. It's just a friendly reminder. If you want to get any work done to your CRT as far as restoration services to your PVM, that is available through RetroTech Patreon. It's gross. I think that's a hair on there. Maybe not. Maybe that's just tape seal. Anyway, you can do so by heading over to the RetroTech Patreon page. I also do have a PVM for sale over there. It's the restored one from the streams a couple weeks ago. The 1340 PVM. It's in fantastic shape. So if you're looking for a 13-inch PVM that's fully restored, you can check out that on Patreon also. Okay. This just snapped here and same deal. Thank you, Belmont. Same deal. Melted solder thread, or sorry, solder wick, and then another nail. Interesting. I wonder, like, if this was, who did this? And I mean, if it's weird to me. I guess the nail, yeah, is a hard piece, and then interesting. So that's the bracket. That's the old one. I didn't want to leave it like this. It also was a little bit leaning, which makes sense. When you put the weight on it, it was flexing. Well, see there, it snapped. You see, it didn't take very much pressure for me to put that on there to just have that thing snap. And that's what I was worried about. That didn't even, look at that. That braid just snapped. Just like that, little bit of pressure, a little bit of torque, and all kinds of stuff. Right? Yeah, actually, the 1340 that is for sale was supposed to be called, or like somebody had been on a wait to have it finished, and then they decided they didn't want to buy it after they'd picked up a different CRT in the meantime. So now it's ready. If anybody wants it, it's ready to go. But this is not square at all. See how that, I mean, that's really like leaning, and that's very nasty. So definitely won't want to use that anymore. There we go. All right, so while we're overhead, let's finish cleaning. I want to clean this board. I also wanted to look at that spot here. Maybe I can use some solder braid and get rid of my concern. Don't think this is probably causing the problem, but just want to make sure everything's good. So right here, this is not a part I installed or changed, but I believe this cap kit, or this was repaired by, maybe salvaged from Pat. You see that? You probably can't see it, but there's some solder that's jumped from this over to this resistor. I want to clear that out in between those two parts. And the best way to do that is probably use the solder wick. If that was even in there, let me see. I might have just scraped it off. Goodness. May have just scratched right off. That's funny. Might not have even. No, it's still in there, I think. Let's see. Yeah, I just don't want it to bridge, so I can reflow the solder on these parts. It's just the best way I know to get rid of the old solder. Okay. I don't know that was even an issue, but I didn't want to have, you don't want to have anything bridging or shorting out like that. So that's just some points in between there that were almost touching. Anyway, you can tell that's been fully reflowed on solder. There's been caps replaced. The resistor's been replaced. Just needs to be cleaned. And this was replaced, which is why I think maybe that, you know, it says 14L5 too, right here. So I think Steven told me he bought this maybe as a replacement board from Pat. So it makes sense it's been serviced with his kit. It wasn't fully serviced as far as the board's concerned. Like, I go through and reflow all the solder. I've seen a couple times where that bracket that we were looking at has been undamaged, but it's not very often. But a couple times I have seen it. Let's have some cleaning. Here we go. Let's get in here and clean this board a little. Get a closer view since this is a smaller board. Ooh la la. So when I reflow solder on a board like this, I reflow solder on every point that has a through-hole component. Okay? I don't resolder the solder on the surface mount components on this side. That solder doesn't get reflowed. I don't reflow solder on the points that hold no parts or that hold heat sinks, because that's pointless too. So none of that. But the other points, I do believe all of them deserve fresh solder on this board. Looking pretty good. Go down here and clean this, then we'll come back and clean that spot again. Give it a little rub. Getting there. This is going to take a few cleanings. It's just got buildup of flux residue. Okay. What's up, Jose? Welcome in, everybody. I know it's been kind of a chill, quiet day, but that's all right. I just was back in the shop working. Figured I'd turn the camera on, hang out with everybody while I was doing it. So, if you're here and you haven't done so yet, please drop a like. It does help to let other people know that we're going live now. And if you've already done that, thank you very much. And even if you're watching the replay a couple hours later, it's all right. You can still drop a like and help it out. I'm just gonna get a lot of this stuff out. Can't really hurt it with this brush and the alcohol, so don't worry too much about, hurting it while you're cleaning it. If you're using this method and stuff, it should be good. I like to do that and then take that towel and put it over there, rub it a little bit. Something that I have been fascinated with recently is how many items are being pulled from streaming libraries and are no longer available to buy on print that aren't even that old, like movies or TV shows, things that are basically modern versions of somewhat lost media. And it's interesting to me. I feel like sometimes these things disappear so they can be re-released, obviously, down the road in some form or fashion. But I also think that a lot of these things are going to be just harder and harder to find for a while, and to try to get away from physical media, which is disappointing. But I don't think... You know who did do the things well? If there's anything that should have seemed to be not printed in physical media form anymore, it seems like it would be books, right? Literature books in general. Yeah, books did a really good job of fighting back against somehow Kindles every other type of device that was developed for replacing the physical book copies. And you can still go and find big book stores all over the place. I mean, even my town has a Barnes and Noble and other bookstores. It's like books somehow beat the physical, you know, the craze of, oh, we're going physical media only. No, people still want books. They still want physical books. And I think that's how the only way we can defeat that was the same approach that book people did when they were threatening to take the books away, I guess, or just using Kindles. I don't know how they did it, but they maintained a whole industry around printing physical copies of books. And you don't really hear about that now. You just hear about movies and video games disappearing. Well, I understand that, but I mean, you still got modern day bookstores that you can go in and find. I mean, it's still a place you can walk into a store or go on Amazon and find a paperback or hardback copy of something if you want it. And I'm not saying everybody, I'm sure the people that do use Kindle's fine, but they've still not, it's not like where you're not going to walk into like Barnes and Noble and they're going to say, yeah, we got rid of our book section. I don't think. I mean, maybe one day it will, but I do think that there's something to be said for that industry and how they've been able to maintain some semblance through it all. I mean, every form of traditional retail eventually probably will fade away, right? All these stores that we were used to for 20, 30 years are probably going to disappear from what they were like when we were using them, at least, because you gotta, you know, change or evolve or die in the business world, kind of, in that kind of an environment. So you'd still expect these stores to be innovative and change, but that's a store that I think that's making the majority of its revenue still from physical media. Yeah, this one's been burned up before, so this one's had a short happen to it. Look at that. That's a different resistor. It's definitely a different resistor replaced, but you can see where there's a black, you can see that black burnout spot right there. See that? This is a rebuilt neck board, I guess, probably, if you bought it from Pat. Sorry, it's getting extra blurry there for a second. We're on the Rogers 8-bit Esquire stream for a second. Sorry about that. But that resistor right there where my cotton swab is burned up. Or not the resistor, just there's a burn spot on the board where one of the resistors burned up. So it was definitely had a short present in it at some point, and so if it was a replacement board, it means it fried and was repaired, which makes sense that this was replaced, this IC, because if that shorts, it will fry that resistor right there. So, yeah. I showed that, I don't remember, whenever we were working on that other one, when did I show that? Recently. Recent stream talking about 20L5s or something? I can't remember. I did that on another stream recently where I showed those things popping. Like popped 3 or 4 times. Okay. Looks good. See how much cleaner that is. Now you can take this other brush, and if you get like a dust coating, which can happen from dust and then dried up alcohol, especially if you're using not 99%, you can just do this and get it's a nice non-conductive brush. for a little bit, clean everything up again. This is looking good. Very nice. And again, I'm just going to make sure that nothing, the real important thing here is make sure that nothing bridges, etc. that wasn't supposed to. And we've got no, I mean, I'm not saying that there's not supposed to be some kind of continuity between these parts, but that's definitely been cleaned up with that solder wick. Okay. The final board is this board. Hey, James. Thanks, Ronnie. Yeah, I think that if you're wanting to look like a really practical idea for physical media at this point is to go to thrift stores, almost any of them, and hunt for good, good quality, still good condition DVD copies, because you can still get them for cheap, pretty much. I went and bought 5 DVDs yesterday for $10. Some of them are in really good shape. Like I said, some of the movies aren't even in print anymore. Thank you, Video Game Goonie. So I really... Hey, Joris. Yeah, it would be funny to try to read a book on a CRT, an ebook. So that's what I would hope is... physical media doesn't go away, but at the same time, I mean... It's going to, probably. But what we need to do is figure out what we can do about it personally. And I see that as being cheap option, going and getting DVDs still. Good quality too on them. You can find full screen and widescreen. Full screen DVDs are great, of course, for playing back on CRTs, right? So that's another one you can usually find, or a bunch of full screen DVDs to enjoy on CRTs if you want. With this board, I do like to go through and reflow solder, and this cap kit's gonna get pretty wicked up in here. See, one of the caps I probably need to get to is under that big gloop right there of garbage. See that? Wonderful. I mean, it's just right there, right? It's like the other leg this is connected to. It's funny enough. All right. There we go. Look at that. It doesn't take much to pull that junk off. All right, cool. That's what I have to do. I do have to get to that leg, so that way we can put some fresh solder on that leg. Here we go. Warm up the iron. Ooh. Cool. Nothing like a spam call in the middle of the show to really liven things up. I probably should have just answered it, but it would have been a recording. $624, good. See, that's this big one. This one's got to be changed. Mark, you're the one doing the really smart thing right there. No, it doesn't. You don't have to collect DVDs or movies or anything. It's just a good example of something that is literally kind of disappearing before our eyes. Or changing, maybe, is a better word to say. I don't feel like it's disappearing. It's being stored in a vault. Let's go through here. Let me get my list. $634. So in there for sure. Which was the one I just reflowed. 6. I know all these over here are in it. You want to get closer? I bet you do, right? You know, this thing. There we go. Don't fall asleep on me now. I know you can probably hear Cole. There we go. That's all the capacitors down in there, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's a bit dicey right there. 7, 8, 9. 658, is that on the list? Yes. 658, 9. So I mean, we're almost 632. Is that on the list? No. 658 is. $656 over here. Probably off camera. Sorry about that one. Down there. Right here. Okay. The bottom of your screen. 1603. There's some over here. 1601, 508, right? Okay. I think that's about it for the kit. We'll pull them and make sure everything is right. Okay. First solder check. FR301 on hand. We're gonna fire it up. There we go. So here's an interesting thing I was thinking. He's bringing up the T1000 and the liquid metal look. That was actually thanks to the scene in The Abyss where the water formulated a face. From what I understand, that's where James Cameron got that technique that was first used there, which is pretty nuts. The water becomes a face to like talk, to try to communicate with them on the ship. It's the alien or whatever, and then anyway, that scene, they used the technology from that to make the T1000, right? Or the, right? Isn't that who we're talking about here? The Terminator? I forgot to solder one thing. That one, The Abyss, I actually had to buy that one on VHS to get the right version, and another one that I can't really find. I don't know if it's been, you can find old prints of it, I'm sure, but I found it at the thrift store for 50 cents on the whatever super long edition tape. The movies, it's got 30 minutes of scenes that are extra or cut out. It's a pretty ridiculous amount of extras. I think that's, again, it's like nostalgic stuff, Jake, right? It's like back when movies were good. It's like this. It's like when games were good, when anything. I mean, everybody has their opinions on their time and what they prefer personally, and that's why it works out. And that's partially the reason everybody's always so cooked up and crazy about nostalgia, for examples. It's kind of what everything is on the nostalgia wavelength, trying to get back to whatever it was that you liked. Sometimes you just got to use the needle nose pliers to get these out, but I don't have them on my hands right now, so let's see if we get this out. There we go. 53.3. 53.3. That should be C662. Yes, that's the right one. Oh, let me put my cup here. Get the caps out. All right, 662 is out. Put a half mark there, and once it's replaced, I'll put a full mark on the list. Nostalgia can make you Nostalgia can make you do a lot of things, right? Almost do a lot of things, and then you're like, what am I doing? Am I really going to drive an hour and a half to get a black and white TV or something that I don't even plan on using? I've done stuff like that. That's not the right cap. I'm not even touching it. All right. Sorry if that's not on the screen. I'm trying to keep it on the screen. All right. $2547 C611, which is, that's ridiculous. It's 25. We'll up that one to a 50 volt 47 on the replacement, not 100 volts. Okay. Let's get that one in the middle of those two. But I bet by the end of the year, let's say, I mean, it's 2024, this seems to be a relatively recent thing that's happening with these kind of movies been out of print and then being pulled from streaming services over whatever rights, etc. It's happening with games too, like in the Steam store that aren't available anymore. I've got one coming that I bought this week too. And let's just see how that progresses towards the end of this year. I think we're going to find that's going to be a lot more commonplace for 2025 than, because we're going to be used to it. But this is a year where it's a lot of this stuff is going to become, by the end of the year, I wonder how many things are going to be on a list of not really available like they used to be. All right. We're about to have, I'm going to turn the background music up for you a little bit as I work through this, because we're about to have some disturbance on the microphone. So I'm going to turn the mics down a little bit. It's going to be crazy if what I see happening is it's going to be really, certain things are going to get released to physical media. But it'll be interesting to see, like I said, what if physical books being printed lasts longer than video games being printed on something? Think about that. 616 is on the other page. 50 volt 2.2, right? Excellent. 50 volt 2.2. see what this one is. 5100. 5100. There it is. There you go. See, that's a good thing, Phantasm. Like, comic books are a good point, but there's still, the weird thing about comic books is there's a huge collectability thing still going on in that sphere. You still have comic books that will come out, and they are a lot less printed than they were, obviously, in the 90s and stuff. And then they become hot, people want to buy them, and since they're limited, you'll have comic books that, of course, you can read, and there's such second printings and etc. like that, but those first printings sometimes are hugely collectible, so there'll always be a physical form of that. So who the hell wants to pay for just reading the I mean, if you're just in it for the stories, then okay, you just read them, sure. Most people that are into comic books are into reading them and collecting them. I was into that for a little bit too. Even more in the modern times, like within the last 10 years, I've been ventured down that rabbit hole. 661 5047. Excellent. That's 5 caps out. And we've got 9 to go. No. 1, 2, 3, 6 caps out. Which one did I miss? 661. 606. I didn't mark. Okay. So yeah, 6 caps out, 8 to go. Two more in the power block, and a couple in the transition blocks. All right, let's pull that tooth. That should be a 50 volt 22 C624. Where are you, 624? Oh, 609. Nope, that's the right one. 609. I thought I was like, what in the world? So that's 609. Sorry. That's why you always check your work. Just the front page left. Let's get this one out right here. And fully, without too much hassle. Okay, that's good. Move that diode leg out of the way for a second. Okay, I'm gonna have to reflow solder on that point. That guy out now. There we go. So that one's definitely cooked. So there's a good sign. Steve Norton, if you're still there, this is a good sign. I mean, this cap, and this could have been that power surge that I saw. This cap is cooked. Okay, there's residue coming at it. It's leaking. It's a power cap filter. 50 volt 220. ESR is probably off the charts on that thing. Bunch of fried crap down in there under it. So it's proof that you can't be intimidated by things like a diode in your way. You need to remove that. Capacitor. So that was 5020, 220, 624. That's the one I was looking for before. 624 under the diode. All right. And when I replace that cap, I'll just redo that diode leg right there. No problem. Not a problem. We need to get some out of this area. And this is the trick with this one, is you've got to get this big resistor out of the way. See that big resistor? That's got to go. Let me turn my mic back up. There we go, back to reality, back to life, back to reality. Oh, hear that? That's like barely enough room. It's normally, that's funny. Normally, actually, I forgot I have to get the other. Most of the time, I have to get the other. Nozzle out for this. Ooh. Alright, let's see if I can get that out of there. I might have to get the other. It's generally, there we go. So this has to come out. You put it back. We'll put that back because the part's not bad, but I can't get to that cap under it without getting that removed. And there's no way. I mean, unless you have tiny Tim's hands, tiny Timmy's. Unless you have some tiny Timmys. Back to reality. All right, we're gonna get this out of here. If you ever, Jake, you got to remember, you got to keep that hackle clean if you want it to work good. That's actually a video that's got a little bit of staying power that I made. That Hacko video. It's managed to get more views than I thought. 5010, perfect. 634. And that's the episode where I showed how to maintain this tool. Oh, you're saying my Hacko, yeah. See, that's what when it clogs like that, the whole, this is too big. Like for, see that? That's like right on the size. That it clogs it. It's like a perfect clog. You can get it on there, but it'll clog it. Rob Cat, thank you. Thank you for the super chat. It says thanks for sharing your knowledge and streaming today. Thank you, Rob Cat. I appreciate it. Super chats are always awesome. Thank you guys. Metcal MXDS1. Which one's that? What is that? Is that a desoldering tool? I'm not aware of it. Definitely am interested in more tools though. Ooh. There we go. Get that. We gotta get these small ones out and changed. This is a 16 volt 100. I'm gonna up that to. Let me make sure I get the right number. 658. 50 volt 100. I ain't doing that. I'll go 25. It's 16 right now. 50 volt might be hard to fit in there, but 25 will fit in there easy. Got 4 more to go. Got 2 down here, 1 over here. Big one over here. One in the middle. 1603 right here. I don't think I didn't put any fresh solder on that one. Let's see if we can get it out without it. Alright, so it's completely loose. $50 10, that's right. And then we can do 1601. Which is right here. There we go. Oh yeah, we're almost there. $16 for 100. Let's see what this is. 25-volt 100. Okay, that's good. That's a fine replacement for that. And then two more. Oh, thanks. Looks like I got another super check coming up. Hang on, let me pull this capacitor and I'll get to it. Thank you so much. Thank you guys. Let's see. Alright, first off, this is 50-volt 1 for 508. That's correct. We have one more cap to remove on this board. And let's see. Body Blow Biscuit Butter, what's up? Thank you. Steve, have you or anyone created a DigiKey or Mauser cap list for a 20M2 MDU? I do not know if anybody has. Here's the problem, unfortunately, with cap lists. The passive components that we're using, I should have done that near that board, but that's okay. I found that when I put them in a cap list like that, over time, I used to have a cap list like that, and over time, every part eventually goes out of stock, and then it's years before they go back in stock. And I would go back and look at the cap list after a year, and it would be half out of stock parts, and then it becomes even more confusing for people because half of them are there and then they don't know what to do with the other half, and I had to stop kind of messing with them. Unfortunately, that's just been the nature, especially this all includes when it was 2019 and COVID hit, and then we were like, even capacitors went out of stock for a long time. And so no, but if you do need a cap list and you're on the Patreon Discords, you can go in there and there are cap lists like the ones I have printed here. And then you can go in and order a cap kit from Mauser or DigiKey. Plus, I don't even, the problem is I don't also use, I wasn't the one actually using any of those things as far as the like pre-order cap sheets, and the reason is I order caps in bulk. So I order like one size, I'll order 100 of it to get a price break, and then I'll use the cap sheets I have to use for my backstock caps. So that's the way I do it, because it saves me money doing it that way. And it's, if I go through and I make a cap list, it could cost more because some parts actually get a big price break once you get to certain amounts, as far as ordering. So then I'd get another question like, why is there 10 on the cap order list of this one part, but there's only 8 of them in the kit? Well, 8 of them costs 30% more than 10 of them. Okay, you might pay $2 for 8 of them, and you get 10 of them for $1.50. And then you got to start. Everybody starts getting confused about that kind of stuff when they're just looking at cap lists. There's a 50-volt 10. Final one. Sorry for a long answer. I hope that makes sense. If you need help with if you need help with an order sheet, you can send me it and I'll review it. Through a DM on there on Patreon is how all that works. And I'll be glad to look at the cap order sheet for you and make sure it's okay. All right. That's all our parts. That's all our parts out. Let me go through here. I'm gonna clean a little bit of this now. Getting all kinds of stupid notifications on my new phone. Right? Yeah, new phone, and it's just like a new notification about something I didn't even know I needed notifications from. Didn't want notifications from. Anyway, it's just an old man complaining about new tech. Alright, I'm going to clean this board a little. So if you look at the order, like most of these sheets, this is the cap kit. Look, I've made notes on this one already where I've had one. These two were listed twice accidentally. This one is either or. So that's the one I'm replacing. Down here, there's 2 different ones. So this is still... But there's always, like, these notes, right? At the end of the cap list, it's going to say there are 4 versions of this L5 monitor, each vary slightly in board build out. You may have some extra parts, depending on your version. The kit may also include some upgrade parts recommended by Sony. Okay, so some of these have been upgraded. The only real upgrade on them is the voltage. So that's not like listed. It doesn't really matter. That's not really on this kit a big deal, because you can always increase voltage and it doesn't hurt anything. But this is one I'm always, like, anytime I find a version I try to add. Where I found this version had these 2, I'm going to add that to the new list. Yeah, you gotta, Mark's right. Unfortunately, you're going to find like a cap you like, and then it'll go out of stock, and you won't be able to get that same exact cap sometimes for years. So it's best to just know what type of cap you need. There's a lot of brands that are good in the United States and in most Western areas. And if you get them from DigiKey or Mouser, you're probably not getting some knocked off garbage that's a fake part or something. Let me get a fresh swab. What I'm most interested in is down here. And then the only thing I do too is I generally make sure I always order, if possible, I always try to get 105 degree temperatures. And I don't go for like the lowest ESR, but low-ish ESRs usually work good on this stuff. which all that's stated on the parts when you click on them on Mauser or DigiKey. All that's stated in there, what's the readings on the part supposed to be. So you're not going to find those totals anywhere on the Sony manual. So they're going to give you 100 more choices to choose from on a capacitor. The one thing you do want to make sure is that it fits in the area. So if you know you have a tight spot, be mindful of that. That's the only thing you really have to worry about, is it going to fit properly. Also watch polarity. Polarity is never mentioned in any kind of document usually as far as the back of a manual. They usually don't say if you have a bipolar capacitor. And you might remove it and realize, wow, you didn't know that, because it's not labeled on the parts list anywhere. Alright guys, so now what I gotta do is I gotta put this 14 part cap kit together and do that. So what's oh goodness, 43. So yeah, there will be a 40 list on the Patreon. Those ones are longer. That's a lot, Mark, like the 1340 I worked on. It's almost the same design where you're gonna have like 40 capacitors in that zone. And then you need to do the power supply and the neck board for sure on that one too. Jake, thank you. Jake is way black is saying that DigiKey still has ICs too. They had the Micom IC for my, oh wow, cool, for my KV27S42. Fried mine, was able to get it replaced, just for anybody who's interested. Thanks for that tip. Yeah, I wasn't even aware of that. I have gotten OEM Sony parts from parts suppliers before, really randomly and weird. They have them listed on their site, you order it, and shoot, I had one that took like 3 months to deliver, but it actually showed up. Oh, they vary different, tiny bit, Mumful, but it's not. It should be pretty similar to the same thing. You should, but what you always want to do is you open it up, you take the list that you find there, and then compare it with your actual set. Because that set that you're doing shouldn't have like Sony replacement parts, really. There's not really any replacement. The only thing that would be upgraded would be... okay, then you're going to be fine. The 40s are all pretty much the exact same thing. The 43 just has maybe one more board in there. That's like a diagonal board connected into a slot in the main chassis. That's really the only difference. I'd recommend doing that, and then also while you have it open, do that audio mod. Try that audio mod on that version. There's documentation for that in the CRT database. It's really simple. You literally just cut a wire. Cut one wire on the input board where it connects to the main board, and you'll add audio on the line on the on the RGB line. Yeah, PVMs basically were multi-region, most of them. I mean, they weren't. Some of them are a little bit different and vary to just regions, but most of them did encompass large areas, and some even went as far as to be like all region, right? They can take any video signal that's analog just about, and then it also could take any power that's AC current from 100 to up to 240 volts without having to worry about it. The power supply can simply work between that voltage that's, 100 is down in the Japanese standard all the way up to the 240 or 220, whatever it is, standard for Europe. Yeah, you gotta always, guys, always check the boards. You will find that there is sometimes, check the boards out, but when you always remove a part, like look at it, make sure it's matching the part, because sometimes you'll find also that for some reason a part might be printed wrong on a board, especially older boards. A part label might be printed wrong, or the orientation might be printed wrong. And if you don't know beforehand, you won't know after. I always recommend taking pictures as you go also, so you can go back and look at things if you have any questions. Take good pictures. Thankfully, that's easy to do nowadays. Yeah. All right, guys. All right, so thank you all for joining me today. It's been an hour and a half. I know I'm going to cutting some of these shorter. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish putting together this cap kit. I'm going to put it together, and then I'm going to try to get it going here. And I'll do probably a third stream this week. You could do video too. The only reason I like pictures is if you can I can generally get in there closer with a picture and get a clearer photo in case you're worried about what direction a part is going. I mean, you can't just take like a picture like from this angle. Might not be as helpful, but if you take pictures from every angle and get close, then you can actually take a picture and zoom in. And I've had like, oh, I didn't know, was this part, like you you take a picture before you remove a part. Then you remove a part, you realize, oh, you're looking at the board, it looks printed different than every other part. Like it's facing a different direction. And you're like, was it actually installed like that? You pull up your photo, zoom in, you can see that, yes, it was installed like that. Or maybe it was installed like all the others, and it's an error on the board printing. But either is good. I just know that when it's come to, it's painful to have to carry a lot of, photographs do take up a lot of space. So I understand not wanting to do all that, but it's helped me a few times where I've had questions about things I've been working on. Thanks again. Thank you guys so much for all the awesome super chats and conversations today, and for just chilling out and having fun. We're working on this 20L5. I'll post back. I'll take spell mine. Yeah, I'm just wrapping up. I'll post pictures of this completion and continuation on Twitter if you want to follow it more. And otherwise, I will see you guys in the next stream. And it'll probably be Thursday or Friday. So, all right, guys, have a great rest of your week. I'll see you then. From Cole and me and the rest of the Retro Tech team.